Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chanel in the City. I'm your host, Chanel Omari, and I have a very special guest on the podcast today. He's actually a really good friend of mine, and he's the CEO of 3 Day Rule, one of the top matchmaking and relationship wellness companies in the US right now. And I am going to be trying the service, so stay tuned. He's also the founder of S'more, the world's first anti-superficial dating app, which he successfully grew and sold to Talkify, a leading matchmaking service in 2023. And he just keeps growing and growing. And he's a businessman. He's talented. He's kind. Please help me welcome my dear friend, Adam Cohen, everyone, even though he's married. So, Adam, you want to state your full name?
Adam Cohen Aselati or ACA, whatever you want, you can call me.
ACA, Adam Cohen Aselati. I love how you still use your married name, which you should because you're a relationship expert. Welcome
So
to Chanel in the City, finally.
thank you for having me.
I hope the audio is working because we didn't even test the audio, but you hear me, I hear you. We are in the month of love, and you are heading now one of the most important matchmaking services. And we're going to get into why matchmaking is not only trending, but it's always been like this old school tool to date successfully, right? So talk to us about 3 Day Rule.
Yeah, so I think first of all, matchmaking is different. Most people, 74% of American singles say they would try matchmaking, but only 1% have. And I think what a lot of singles, high intent singles don't know is that many matchmaking services, you can enter their network for free. So all those people that are listening that are on all those apps, you can continue to be on those apps and you can continue to meet people in bars and clubs and Equinox and whatever, but also sign up for these matchmaking services because if they have a client that matches your preferences, that's a free date for you and usually way higher caliber. But the main difference between matchmaking and dating apps are that in a dating app, you're in the wild, wild west and hunting and fishing for yourself. So you're thinking about what are my preferences? What do I think my preferences are? And then you're filtering your way into perfection. And the reality is that dating apps have a success rate of 9%, and matchmaking has on average between a 70 and 80% success rate. And the difference is a person is teaching you dating skills and they're getting to know you on a very deep level. They're becoming your best friend, your sister, your brother, whatever it is, understanding your insecurities, your vulnerabilities, your experience dating. And they're literally interviewing people for you specifically and then seeing if there's an X factor connection or a personality click, and then planning the date. So, really, someone that's advocating for you and your best interests, which is partially why matchmaking has such a high success rate compared to dating apps.
So you would suggest a matchmaker over a dating app?
I would suggest people do everything because
Right.
I think that in you want to be available in every way because you never know where the person's going to come from. But if you're comparing apples to apples, matchmaking is significantly more successful than a dating app. Yes.
Well, I've done it all except for matchmaking. So we are going to try out actually 3 Day Rule with Chanel Omari, Chanel in the City here, which is going to be interesting because I just turned 40. And for me, it was always important to find love since the show that I did on Bravo, which was Princesses of Long Island for the audience just tuning in, which I was 26 years old then. And then I went through a journey of dating and having boyfriends and bad relationships. And now I'm 40 and I'm like, you know what? Now I got to cut the shit and really be serious. And I think matchmaking 3 Day Rule is going to be something, a different avenue for me to get myself out there. Cause right, you can't do anything if you don't get yourself, you can't find love if you don't put yourself out there. Like you can't just wait at your apartment and be like, it's going to come unless you put yourself out
Oh, you have got to do all the things. And I think that, we'll get into this a little bit later on, but what 3 Day Rule does that's really different from other matchmaking companies and for sure dating apps is, and people don't know this, dating is a skill, like reading, like
there.
writing, like
It's a
riding a
job.
bike.
Yeah.
It is a skill. And that means you can learn how to be a great dater. By the
Wait a
way,
minute. So are you sorry to interrupt, but you're saying so that basically this is so interesting that you're saying that because are you saying then most of the population just knows how to date?
They don't know how to date. They
But it
do
feels
not
like they do because
know. They
most are
don't.
married or most will have kids or what society tells us. That's what I'm so
The
intrigued by.
marriage rate in this country is crashing. The divorce rate is still extremely high, and young people don't want to get married. Young people aren't in long-term relationships. I think that if I'm an American educator, I think that you should learn, there should be a course in high school and college how to date successfully and how to be in a successful relationship. Because
True.
if the most important part of your life is not only your job, but your interactions with human beings, especially for romance, and you don't know how to do that, how are we expecting people to know how to behave in a relationship if they've never been taught how to behave in a relationship? And a lot of times we learn bad behaviors from dating apps, from maybe growing up in a home that wasn't amazing. And so you can learn, every single person can learn to be a great dater and get value out of dating, learn how to find people that are successful, find people that are good fits, and also be successful when it comes to within your relationship. Like, how do you fight successfully? How do you argue successfully? How do you talk about intimacy and build out confidence and self-esteem? All of these things are learned. And so we can all educate ourselves, up level our skills, and be better when it comes to dating and also within relationships.
Okay, so based on what you just said right now, this is what's so interesting. Exactly. It's not about like, hey, I'm 40 and I'm still single and I haven't found the right one, or my friend is married for 30 years and she's sick of him and wants a divorce. It's more like, how do we date and learn how to date success, to date even successfully? Like, I don't want to just date someone for 2 years and then be like, okay, bye, you're out the door. That's not the goal. The goal is to have a long-term, successful, healthy relationship. So, with that being said, like, what are your tips? I guess to like, I don't know if the question is, what are your tips in the beginning of dating to find that? And what are your tips to maintain that? Right? Because
Yeah.
there's two
Well,
different things.
I think that there's three parts to this. And again, this is something that 3 Day Rule does, but I think it's something that every single can do.
By the
You
way, I'm
need to,
so excited to try 3 Day Rule. You guys are going to tune into Chanel in the City, follow my journey. We're going to talk about it more on more episodes. But Adam's going to give me a subscription of finding a date, a proper date for me, and see how that turns out with through a matchmaking service. And I can tell you guys, from my own experience, and I could tell you we're going to go into what celebrities have used it, what celebrities should use it. But yes, go on.
yeah.
Sorry.
So I think that, so in terms, yeah, there's been a ton of celebrities that have used it that I've worked with specifically. We can get into that too. But when it comes to dating and relationships, there's three areas that people need to focus on. So the first one is probably the most important one, and it is getting ready for love. So oftentimes we feel so anxious because our parents are telling us we need to be married, in a relationship with a kid, we have to have a good career. There's so much pressure on women especially, but also for men to accelerate their life in the love department. And oftentimes we're not ready for love. We want it because we want the end goal, but there's steps that you need to take to get to that end result. And so a lot of those steps are internal. If you are not ready for love, if you have trauma from past relationships, and Chanel, you are one of those people that you have not dealt with, that you have to figure out, how do I let go of a bad relationship? How do I forgive him so that I can move on? How do I heal from sexual wounds? How do I heal from emotional wounds? And so you've really got to deal with some of this past trauma. That's the first step. And then you need to understand, when it comes to dating a relationship, where does my confidence lack? Where does my self-esteem lack? And am I good on actual dates? When I go on a date, what is my agenda? Am I looking to interview him? Am I looking to have sex with him? Am I looking for date number two? Like, what do I actually want out of this date? I don't think
Well,
people,
don't we all want to have sex at the end of it? I feel
no,
like
you shouldn't. That's not
but
the
that's
goal.
what we're all thinking.
Well, that's not, so that's the problem. Because if you want to have sex at the end of the day, yeah, go on Tinder, go on Bumble. If you're
Right.
gay, go on Grindr. That's your
No,
result.
but you want to make an intimate connection with someone. So why do we date, really? That's the question. Why do we date? To
We
find the
want to get,
intimacy and the
we want to,
love.
I think we want to get to know. So we can date for a lot of reasons. We can date because we want to meet someone and have sex with them. We can date someone and not actually want to even talk to them and just have sex with them. Or we can be dating because our goal is a long-term commitment. And by the way, not everyone wants that. And that's okay. And I think that's, I'm not trying to
But do you
alienate
believe that?
people.
I don't believe that. You being an expert and a CEO of a very successful company, I don't believe that people don't want that. I think deep down, everybody wants that. It's with who.
Maybe, but I think that timing is part of it, right? So sometimes people don't have time to give to a relationship. They still want to meet people and have a good time, and that's totally fine. And so I think that one of the things is your expectations. What do you really like, Chanel Omari? What do you really want out of this date? Do you want it to go somewhere? Do you want to have a really fun night? What are you looking for? Do you want to have a good meal with a smart person? I mean, there's so many different goals for that actual date and for long term. And you need to level set what you want. And then you also need to try before the date to understand what their expectation is. Because if the guy's expectation is, I'm going to wine and dine you and then we're going to have sex, you should know that up front. And there's things you can ask ahead
Yeah,
of
but
time.
that's hard when men lie. That's hard. It's hard when most men lie.
Most men can lie,
Maybe
but you
my
also are,
experience.
yeah, but you're also in control of your own destiny. And so
Okay.
if you're not comfortable with something, say something, do something, take those actions. You don't need to do something because someone else suggests it to you. But I think understanding what the expectation is. And then I think when you go on the actual date, there's a mindset shift. Oftentimes, if you're a woman, especially if you're in your 30s, you are not wanting to waste time. You kind of feel this pressure, society pressure, family pressure that you don't have a ton of time. And I don't think that's fair, but I think people still feel that pressure. So you go into this saying, look, at the end of this meal, I'm going to find out if he's a waste of my time or if we're going to the next date. And there's so much pressure. And so the first date from a woman's perspective can be, I need to get these 75 questions answered. And then the guy's got to be perfect. That's not going to happen. And so what I usually say on the first date, especially, is let's do a little bit of a mindset shift. The goal of the first date should be a rule of three, because we're 3-day rule, right? I want you to find two redeeming qualities about the person emotionally, values based, that you connect with. He really values education and he's close with his family. If that's important to you, those are two things. And one physical characteristic about the person that you find sexy, his smile, his butt, his hair, whatever. Chanel, could we pause this for 1 second? Because someone's coming to fix something.
So you're saying the 3-day rule
Yes. Okay.
in threes.
So we talked about, yes. So you have to look for two redeeming qualities that are emotional, that are values based, that are ambition based, that you like in the person, and then one physical characteristic that you find sexy. If you can find those three things and there are no red flags, go on another date with this person. It is worth your time. Forget about your checklist. There's so much pressure on the first date. That means you had a successful date if you find those three qualities and go on date number two.
Now, what if they don't want to go on a date with you, but you still kind of have the same type recurring over and over again? Are there any tips? Like, which is why I say a matchmaker works, right? Because the matchmaker will find out before if you guys are a match made and if you had the qualities, like you're saying, that match up. And then she sets up the date. So at least you know you're going out with somebody that really wanted you already from the beginning, right?
I
So,
think I think that this is also the one of the big differentiators with people using matchmakers because we're gonna go through all of your insecurities, build up your confidence, build up your self-esteem. We're gonna give you dating skills. So when
right.
you get to the date, we already know that you have the skill and we already know that that person's highly vetted. So you're not gonna have a situation where they don't want to date me again. They don't want to date number two. It's highly unlikely that that's going to happen because we highly vetted them for you. But if they don't want to go on another date with you, you want to know why. That's the
Right.
best part of matchmaking. We ask both parties for post-date feedback. So anyone who ever watched Patty Stanger, Millionaire Matchmaker, she literally calls them on the phone and says, "Hey, how did you like X, Y, and Z? And do you want to date them again?" She's collecting all that information. We're collecting all that information. It could be that it was not a match. It could be that maybe it's more of a friend zone thing. It could be something you said rubbed them the wrong way. We get all that information and we give it to our client. So every next date is better than the last because we're iterating. We're finding what the problem areas were, both internally and externally, and we're correcting them as we go.
Well, that's really cool and needed. And so, how does that usually work in general? What's been the success rate with 3-day rule in terms of setting people up, whether they're celebrities or not celebrities? And just, what do you have to do also to be part of the system? if
So
somebody wants to sign up right
80,
now?
84% of our clients say that we're successful in
Okay.
matching. So that's great.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, anyone that wants to sign up to 3 Day Rule, it's free. So go to the database, you sign up, you're automatically there. So when a matchmaker has a client that matches your preferences, you're going to go on a free date. Also, for all of your viewers, if they're listening here and they're mentioning your name, Chanel Omari, and they go and purchase a free match, they purchase matchmaking from us, will also honor a discount to them too, especially for February. So this is a February promotion for
Right.
Chanel
Let them
Omari
know
listeners.
Chanel in the City sent you guys. Well, speaking of February being the month of love, let's talk about, you know, and we'll get back to the process of like how you match and how you find a match, even though it's free, like for your clients. But for February, for Valentine's Day, whether you're single, what are tips for the single people out there? How to like find love, how to not be hopeless or helpless that day. And
Yeah.
also for the couples out there that are newly dating, like everyone's always asking me, should I get him something? Should I get her something? I've only been dating her or him for 2 weeks, or a month or 7 months. Like, what's the appropriate thing to do for a holiday like this for people?
Yeah, so Valentine's Day tends to be also one of the most depressing days of the year. So I heard a quote yesterday where women, I should say young women in their 20s, 30s, or just single ladies, they're doing Galentine's Day.
Mhm.
So they're getting together with their girlfriends and they're doing a self-care day. They're going to a spa, they're watching a movie, Netflix and chilling, having some popcorn. It's just because you're not in a relationship does not mean the world's ending for you. It's all about the love that you have in your home, the love that you have with your friends. It doesn't
Right.
matter. You do not want to be in a toxic, horrible relationship that's way worse than being, just because you're in a relationship does not mean it's good. So do your Valentine's Day, make Valentine's Day a self-care day for all the guys out there. Do something for yourself. Go to the gym, do a spa day. I
Right.
think
Because
that's
the more you love yourself, the more you attract anyway the right type of love. Like you can be lazy and say, I don't want to do it. Like for me, I was going to be lazy. And then I'm like, no, I'm even going to take myself out to dinner
yeah,
alone
something
and
fun.
face it and
Yeah.
embrace it. And if I could have fun by myself on a really depressing day that's supposed to be for like love and like it's spreading love for yourself. Like I can't
A
explain it.
100%, 100%. And also go with your girlfriends. Make it a day where you're going to go to a bar and
Right.
find some cool guys. If you're thinking about doing this, so are three other guys, and maybe you connected, maybe you find your person. Don't stay home and be
Right.
sad. Do something that
Or
makes you.
sign up for a 3 day rule and have a glass of wine. Not that I'm trying to be promoting here, but it is true.
That's so true. That's so
Like
have your glass of wine, sign up to 3 Day Rule, and maybe a couple
it's,
other matchmaking
it's
companies because
proactive.
increase your chances for success. 100%. Well, I know that when we were chatting a couple days ago, well, I want to mention one other quick thing, and then I
Mhm.
want to get into your love life too. So 3 Day Rule announced a $1 million matchmaking package. So we are
Wow.
charging $1 million, okay? And it's never been done before, where we are giving three lucky clients, they're going to be vetted by us, so not anyone who wants to buy could buy. Three people will have the opportunity to work with us, and they're going to get it's a 1 year transformational life experience. Okay. They
Wow.
get a matchmaker for a year, a coach for a year, and a recruiter for a year to give them unlimited matches for themselves. And also, all these extra services like coaching, getting glammed for the date is for not only you, but every single person we find for you. So we're going to be flying around the country. We're going to be meeting amazing people, exactly what you're looking for, and coaching them to go on dates with you. Again, never been done before, unlimited matching. And if you find a person through this experience, you also get a diamond ring to get engaged. Hopefully that happens for you, and we're
I
confident
hope
that it
so.
will.
From your
And
mouth to God's ears.
yeah, and you get to gift matchmaking to a friend or family member, and you get 1 year of relationship coaching. And so
Wow.
this is great because you're able to, once you find a relationship, maintain the health of that relationship. So again, in case any of your viewers, listeners are
Please
in the
listen up.
embarrassed or their friends are, let us know.
Send it to your millionaire club because you never know who's listening. I bet you so many millionaires listening to my show, but they just don't want to give me money. So let them give you the money. No, but the whole thing is that it's true. Like you have to put yourself out there, like,
Yes.
so what's the process on speaking of that? What is the process behind 3 Day Rule, in general, in a matchmaking service? Like what would, for your client, somebody signs up, how does this go about? How many dates do they get a month? What are the
Yeah.
packages look like?
Yeah, so we have packages that start, so the paid matchmaking. So again, we have free matchmaking, which is you're in our network and we will find you someone if you match our client. That's free and everyone should do that. And then our paid packages start at $5,900 and they go up to typically 100,000. Now, because we're in the month of love in February, we have some really great promotions. So again, if anyone's interested, use Chanel Omari's name when you speak to us on the phone, and there's some really great promotions for February. But
Use Chanel in the city
basically,
too, obviously, right? They could use Chanel Omari or Chanel in the city, whatever comes to mind that we
bas
said. Yeah.
and basically, what the process is our company has a 3-day process for love. 3-day rule. Why is it called 3-day rule? We have a 3-day rule to successful dating. 3-day rule, not date rule. 3-day rule to successful dating. Day number one is the thing that you do before your date. So, what are you doing mentally and physically to prepare for your date? So, you know what information you want out of them. What do you want to share about yourself? Don't share everything. What specifically do you need to share about that person? And how do you prepare yourself to be zen, to feel good, to be excited? And it's not doing shots before the date. So, let me tell you that.
I know I'm not a
Then
good dater.
there's then there's day two. How do you act on the date? What are you doing on the date to make sure you're coming across well? Are you actively listening? How do you actively listen? What is active listening? How do you get the other person to date you correctly as well? So there are certain tactics and things you should do to make sure the actual date itself is successful. And then the third day is the day after the date. We don't want you to commit to going on another date right away. We want you to think about, did I get my information? Are there two redeeming qualities I like about this person and one thing physical that I'm attracted to, and no red flags? If there is, go on another date. So we want you to think about this. And then if there is that connection, then plan another date. So it's a 3-day rule. It's a 3-step process to successful dating. So yeah, that's kind of what the company is about. And that's really why it's so different, because there's a lot of coaching involved. And it's really about transforming the person. It's not about just getting you on great dates. It's about transforming you as a human.
Right, because like I'm a social person, and a lot of people are social that can't really date because there's no rule book to dating, and you really have to have a skill set, like you said, bringing it back to the beginning of the conversation, like to date. Like I can be social with my friends and go out and party and be the life of the party, and then I could sit down with somebody and either not reveal any information at all, which can also be a pet peeve of someone, so they don't get to know you more, or I close down or shut down or I talk too much. We all have that. So really, how to date and coaching and like maintain, that's the key to maintaining it and finding somebody, and of course through a matchmaker, because the matchmaker is the expert. Like you want an expert to always, a lot of times in love, I think, and especially with Gen Z, we think we know better.
Mhm.
I'm not Gen Z, but I like to think I am. But we think we know best. We think we know, like, well, even with celebrity, and we're gonna get into that, like love stories and divorces and people who do last. Like, we all think we know better, but the truth is we don't know better. We need the help, and it's okay to ask for help, especially this month for Valentine's Day. Like, I can't tell you how much I dread Valentine's Day, and we're gonna get into my love life, and why it hasn't worked for all these years, since I came out of my mom's womb. I don't know why. Because you could be the biggest people pleaser and the biggest charmer and still not find love. It's like not about being like the good girl or
Well,
the good guy according to society, because there's so many people I know of those characteristics that haven't been able to literally maintain love.
well, let's flip the script on you, because I
Oh,
know a little bit about your love life, but I don't know how much you've shared about it. And I think
right.
that for you, you want so much to be in a relationship. Again, I could be wrong, and correct me if I am,
No, I
but
do.
what I can
I
see.
love love. I love love, but I'm so honest about that, like with everybody I meet. I feel like with my
So
employer, my friends, my boss, like my exes, like I've always been upfront about that as my bestie, like I love love. I love to fall in love. I love to be in love. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's important.
the trouble is when you're running towards something, when you're running towards love and someone's giving you a breadcrumb and you're devouring the breadcrumb, you will jump, or not you, but
Yes.
people will jump at the wrong. When you're getting a little affection, you think that that's love. And there's a lot of lead on, there's a lot of breadcrumbing that goes on. So we know that you want to be in a relationship. You said it, you've done it, you're trying to do all the things. And then when one guy shows you a little affection, you jump and you think
Yeah.
it's the best person ever, and then they become evil and toxic and what have you. And in your case, someone showed you some affection, but also had such negative traits. and was doing
And other
horrible
women. It's like
another
when
way.
you said to me, you should have dated more at the time, right? Like you shouldn't date one guy or one girl, but that's also an issue. Sometimes that's hard for me because I don't get a million guys at once to date. You
Yeah.
have to constantly put yourself out there even for just one guy. It's like that's why
But
I'm
it's
like, how
not
are these
worth
guys
it.
dating so many women though? How
When
are they
someone
dating?
mistreats you like that, that's a character issue for them and not about you. But there's this expression that people treat you the way you let them treat you, and I believe that
Right.
that's true. When you know you're being abused, and when people around you are telling you that that is being abused, and you recognize it, and I think in your past relationship you did, but you really wanted it to work. You really wanted to be in this relationship, so it didn't matter. For you, you thought, well, he'll change over time because I really like him and
I
physically it's
love,
fun and
right.
intimacy was great, but he was so awful. And that continued to happen over and over again. And you wanted more and more to for it to work. And it was relationships take two to tango. And let me tell you, the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. And he was not watering this relationship because for him, he wasn't in one. You were in the relationship and he was hanging out.
Yeah, but you mentioned why do you think he breadcrumbed and most men do? It's like why breadcrumb one girl and then the next woman you're going to commit to. So like how does that work with men usually like in commitment? Like commitment is such a big like why is it so scary for men with one woman and for another woman it's not that scary at all. You know, it's like that's what
I
I don't understand. And why is commitment scary? I feel like commitment's so it's healthy to have a commitment mindset like in life.
if you want it. But I think
You
oftentimes
want it, I
men
guess.
and even men when they're younger, they want options. And so if they're not willing to love all of a person, but maybe the sex is good, we'll breadcrumb you on the sex, we'll breadcrumb you on the dates, we'll breadcrumb you here. So there's a multiple options. When I'm feeling like I want to do this, I have her. When I want to do this, I have her. When I want to do this, I have her. You don't want to be someone's side piece. You want to be someone's everything. And so if they're not willing to give you all of who they are and people are telling you this and you're seeing it, they're probably not going to change for you. And so it's time to, and it's hard. Breakups are really tough, but you've got to move on. And also, you need to forgive that person for you to move on because they occupy way too much space in your mind and your energy. They're an energy suck and they're pervasive. That negative energy impacts your career, your other relationships in your life. You need to cut it out.
Do you think that after a breakup, how long after a breakup should you go on a matchmaking service or just dating or going out and putting yourself out there? Because I've put myself out there for the last 2 years. My last relationship was literally 2 years ago. I don't even think you can call it a relationship. It was a situationship, even though those are considered now relationships because people don't know what to do with situationships. Like, I guess what would your advice be if people are stuck in my situation, like a situationship they can't get out of, they don't know of, they're naive towards, like, but they really want to find someone, excuse me, and then, what to do after a breakup, like how long after to date and put yourself out there if you're really not feeling it.
Yeah, look, I think situationships
A lot of
are hard,
concerns.
but I
Yeah,
think that
very
they're
hard.
really arrangements, right? It's really friends with benefits. We're not dating because we don't we want to keep our options open, but usually
But can't,
there's
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can't, this is what I want to tell all the men out there or straight men. It's like, what does it matter if you date a girl and you still keep your options open? That is what dating is. Like, why do they make it so it's when they do this category of situationship, they're the bad guy because they're like not being respectful or treating the woman like she deserves to be treated. Like you can date and wine and dine someone, have a real honest conversation that you're not ready for commitment. If they're okay with that, fine. If they're not, you break up, you
I
don't
think
date
usually
anymore.
both parties know they're in a situationship, and even sometimes they call it a situationship
Well,
with
I
them
didn't. Okay.
themselves. Because I think that in your case, you were not in a situationship, he was. You were in a relationship during the time you thought that this
Yeah, I
guy
thought I was Travis Barker and Courtney Kardashian. I thought I was Kravis. Like, are you
he never
kidding?
felt that way. And he told you and he did all the things to
No,
make
but
you.
he didn't tell me. This is what I'm saying. They lead you on. They tell you one thing in private, how much they love you, how they can't live without you, how they want to be with you because they get the intimacy. And then once the intimacy is over, it's like they don't know you. And that's the
That's
fucked up
it. He
part.
told you with his actions. He
Right.
disrespected you and mistreated you in
Right.
public. And those actions, you
Sometimes you don't
don't
want to believe
do to
that.
someone that you love. You don't publicly embarrass someone that you love. And you felt that and you hung on to it. Instead of
Yeah.
saying, look, dude, this is uncool. This is my boundary. And if you cross that line, I'm done.
Well, I've
You
said that and I did. but I did walk. I mean, we're not together, right? So that's the whole.
I think during the relationship, there was a lot of boundaries that were crossed. And I think it's important for women to set, and men too, but also women to set those boundaries. If this guy is going to be disrespecting you, this is not the guy for you. Again, maybe you like a situationship and that's totally cool, but that will probably not become a healthy relationship.
No, but that's what we were right. And that's what we were talking about, where you're like, you have to face what you want. And I said, I know I want a relationship. And you said to me off the record, then say that out loud and start telling people that. And that's okay. And if they don't match your ethics or what you want or your values, then you have to, that's just
You
getting
gotta
you
move on.
ready for the next person. Yeah. Like I know I don't want a situationship. I know I want a relationship. I don't know what happened. Um, can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but you're
Okay.
frozen.
But I I'm sorry, we have to move on. Guys, Janelle in the city, we're still moving on, but this is gonna get fixed. Okay, we're back on the air. Um, I know this is what I want to tell my audience too. Listen to what Adam's saying. Be honest with what you want. I want a relationship. I want a partner. I want a man that is kind, that is equal to me, that wants to do things with me, that wants to see me every day. Even though I need a break from him and he needs a break from me, but wants to see me every day, wants to say we, wants to make plans, wants to make serious plans. Like, listen, you know me. I can be the fun girl, down to earth, casual, no pressure girl, but at least treat me with what I deserve to be treated with, especially having that attitude, right? Like, because then they leave you for some like know it all bitch that is so demanding. And you're like, this is who you end up with. Like, this is what I can't wrap my head around. Like, why some guy will be committed to one person, other, is commitment. Like, I guess the question to you is commitment something people need to want to have, or it's with a specific person they want it with?
It's both. It's both. Some people are not interested in being in committed relationships because they want to just have some fun. And sometimes those things that are fun become situationships. The sexual part is really fun, but you're not really seeing a long term with them. So there's
Okay.
parts of it that are. And I think that those tend to be unhealthy because one person develops the emotional connection and it's harder for them to break out of that. And then when they finally do, that's you, it falls apart.
Psycho.
I was told by a little birdie that you had some celebrity relationships. So
Well,
you
we're not going
dated
to get
back.
in.
So is it true? Is it true or false that you have dated both Taye Diggs as well as Zac Efron? Are those true statements?
Well, I'm not going to get into my love life specifically because I can get into those details because confidentiality with celebrities. But yes, I've had definitely dated some of these guys in Hollywood. And I was going to go into asking you what's the difference between celebrity dating. And I also come from reality TV. So, like, coming from reality TV and coming from television in general and having your life in the public eye and then dating celebrities of the caliber you mentioned is it's hard because you're like in general, even though I'm a talent, I'm a private person. Like really, when it comes down to it, like I am a private person. Like if you had paparazzi outside my house snapping photos of me and a celebrity dating, I wouldn't mind it. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't announce it. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't probably feel comfortable talking about it because your dating life still is a private thing. And and the men I dated were very gracious to me and very amazing to me. And
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
okay, so we're going to talk about the celebrities, like the difference between celebrity dating and being in the public eye, and then obviously not being a celebrity. Do you think, like, we talked about a little bit about my dating life? Like, I've dated celebrities for sure, and they didn't work out not because they were celebrities or because we were in the public eye. They didn't work out because of real, relationship issues or lack of, or it didn't wasn't compatible. So, like, do you think there's a difference? Like, and we'll talk about some celebrity couples, like, to ask your opinion on.
I think that it's harder to date as a celebrity because you're in the public eye. And I think sometimes people are putting two celebrities together and think it's going to be a power couple and everyone's going to care. But people are still people at the end of the day. So, a match is a good match is a good match and a bad match is a bad match. So I think that the you want to, if you're a celebrity, you probably want to keep it under wraps because if it's a real relationship that you're after, you want to protect it as much as you can and not share it with the world. I think when you share it with the world, people are always trying to pick it apart. There's always people trying to slide into your DMs and shake it up a bit. So I think you just need to be private about how you date. You need to trust, a lot of celebrities, a lot of politicians use matchmakers. We have quite a number of celebrities and politicians. They want to just find the love of their life. They don't care about finding another celebrity or someone. that's also a politician. They just are looking for a good match. And it is very difficult to do that when you're high profile. And that doesn't mean you're a celebrity. Could mean you're a lawyer, could mean you're a doctor, could mean you're an engineer. Think about it. To all of your listeners out there, if you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and you're an accomplished professional, it's a little strange being on a dating app and having your 25-year-old colleague find you on the dating app,
Mhm.
right? It's not really a good look. And so when you use a matchmaking company, you have this anonymity, you have this privacy, you have this discretion where you can really go on great dates, meet great people, and not be feeling some kind of way that your face is plastered on this app for the whole world to see.
Well, from my experience, yeah, it's like when I was on a reality show or I was dating other celebrities, I feel like people used me. So the intention of people dating you too is not real. And that sucks when you find out that, like, oh, they didn't really like you. They liked you for who you dated or because you were on a reality show, because of who your celebrity friend is. Because I've had a lot of friends that I grew up with in Hollywood that are successful and happen to be, but their success is not your success. So there's all this stuff that you have to navigate to be like, let me find me again. Let me go back to me. Like for example, Megan Fox and right and Machine Gun Kelly, they were super in love, super in public. And that's the other thing I was going to ask you, like, because I did that with my ex, like, but what's the boundary where you're private and you preserve your relationship, but you're also not a secret? Right? Like with Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, they were super out there. They were super in love. Who would have known that he would have cheated on her and had a side chick while she was pregnant and one of the most gorgeous women in the world? So like, where's you know, I guess it's like, how do you achieve this like healthy, beautiful, amazing public love without feeling some type of way? Or me, sometimes I can't talk about the celebrities I dated. It's taboo. Like there's NDAs, there's protecting their privacy. But like, what happens about your self love or your truth where you have these boundaries and you can be like, or what are the red flags that Megan Fox wasn't seeing? You know what I mean? Like, because they were super in love.
Yeah. I think it becomes very difficult for people to date in the public eye. I think that they need to be very specific about what they're looking for. I think they need a date and relationship coach because there's this very specific way to navigate all of that. And probably we need more time than an hour to go through it. But they're professionals. So I think that you want to contact a company like 3 Day Rule, do couples coaching, and understand how to maintain discretion and privacy, not share all those details and have a concerted effort when you go out publicly that you are one unit, that you are together, and that you're not stepping out on each other because there's a lot of temptation out there.
Right, because even with paparazzi, like you can control how much media you want on you. It's just a matter of like, do you want to take it to another level or do you want to have a balance? Like Cameron Diaz, I think does it best. Like she has a balance where she really puts her family first and she's not in the public eye every second. But when she has a movie to promote, she's in the public eye and she lets that take over.
Yeah.
There's a balance. I wanted to get your opinion quickly on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills because now they're airing. It's a phenomenal season. We see now Dorit going through a divorce. We see all the women like Kyle Richards and Garcelle and Sutton Strack, and they're all single. And Erica Jane. So, what is your opinion on women who are divorced? How can they find love too, and get out of this funk of like I was married, now I'm not. I want new love kind of thing. Like, do you think love
I'm
is over for you after you get married, according to society? It seems like you have this like one shot at love, and that's it. It's
okay.
not a show.
I'm gonna answer this in 1 second. I just assign
Mhm.
one thing and then I'm done. Sorry. Okay. So I love the Housewives of Beverly Hills. So let's start there. I think that, it looks like most of the women on the show are not in relationships. They're single, they're ready to mingle. And I do believe that love comes in different stages. Sometimes you have a person in your life that is meant to be the father of your children. You're meant to have a great 8 or 10 year run, and that relationship runs its course. And that's okay. If you've given your relationship all the shots possible, if you've gone through therapy, if you've tried everything you can, but you still aren't into the person, you still kind of feel out of love with the person, I don't believe people should stay together for the sake of staying together. Now, there's a lot of, reasons for the kids, financial reasons. Maybe you don't want to get a divorce, but I don't think when we have one life to live, I don't think that we should be unhappy in the relationship department. So either we create rules and boundaries in the relationship that allow us to be happier in other ways. And there's Monogamish relationships, there's things that change over time, or we put a pin in an old relationship and we're looking for something new for another stage of our life. I think it's very healthy. And I think it's also the norm. Instead of people saying, well, 50% of marriages end up in divorce, that's a negative way of looking at something. And oftentimes you had a good run with a person for a period of time, and that relationship ran its course. And in some of those years, you were really happy, and you both, probably the last 2 years, weren't. And instead of having more years of unhappiness, let's end that and start something new. I do think that that's okay. Not every relationship needs to be 20, 30, 40 years. For those people who find the love of their life and it is in all those stages, that's fine. But in order for that to work, both people have to grow together at the same rate through the entire relationship. And that is really difficult because you don't know how someone else is going to grow. They might grow quicker than you, then you're slowing them down, or you're growing quicker than them and they're slowing you down. It is a challenge. And I think that this is why so many young people today, when there's a conflict in a relationship, they're educated to say, goodbye. There's a million fish in the sea. There's an app called Plenty of Fish that tells me that. Bye, instead of working on what's difficult. And working on what's difficult makes you good in a relationship. And this is all about communication skills. That's number one. It's when you feel some kind of way, you should say that in a respectful way to your partner in that moment or right after the moment, right after the heat settles, because you do not want feelings to fester. That never leads to a positive outcome. So have those conversations, as difficult as they may be. And if you have trouble, call 3 Day Rule. We have a coaching team here that can help you along the way, but you've got to be simpatico. Relationships that aren't simpatico don't work.
Look at that. They already put the balloons in the background for you. I don't know who did that. Maybe somebody hacked in his fairy godmother.
There you go.
What would you suggest for the housewives currently in Beverly Hills or any housewife like single or celebrity single? What do they have to do to get back out there? And what would you suggest for me with my dating life? We could, separate that, but like for me to get back out there, or how to treat 3 Day Rule, when I'm dating, right? Because it's been depressing.
Yeah, I think for the housewives, I do think because they're so public, I recommend that of course they go to all their social functions and maybe use their social network to find people, but also every single one of them should have a matchmaker. And a matchmaker is just going to increase your odds of finding success. When you have that much money and relationships are important to you, you should be investing in them. And so that means everyone should be having a matchmaker, doing these professional dates while still living their life and doing their other things instead of, you know, thinking that it's an expense that leads to nowhere. They're learning the skill of dating, they're learning the skill of being in a proper relationship and going on some amazing dates that they may not have in their social network. So definitely do everything, all the things that you need to do to be successful in love and relationship. Do all, if you can afford all the things, do all the things, and that just increases your chance for success. When it comes to you, and some of the housewives as well, I think that there's past trauma. Like Erica Jane's a perfect example. She originally said, I just want to have a lot of sex. I want to meet a lot of guys, have a lot of sex, and eventually I want to be in another relationship. And I believe that that's true.
Doesn't look like Tom was giving it to her, right? No, I'm just kidding. I had to make a joke.
I think that that's probably true. And I think that ultimately she does want to have a partner. And I think because she's gone through so much trauma with her spouse and it's been so public, I think she needs, and she does go to therapy and she needs to really recover from that. And she also has to forgive Tom for all the hell that he put her through for herself to move on. Because then that's not going to suck her energy and her energy is going to be focused on herself, fixing herself, protecting herself, and giving all of herself to somebody new. But unless you forgive a past relationship, and this is any relationship in your life, could be a partner, could be a friend, could be a colleague, could be a business relationship, you need to forgive so that you mentally and your energy can move on in a positive direction and not be sucked back into the darkness that of the past,
Well,
essentially.
Erica Jane even said, like what I similarly said this past week on Housewives of Beverly Hills. She said, I want to be in love, like the kooky in love in those rom-com movies. Like even someone like her who says it's just about sex for me, or I'm a strong woman, or I'm an independent woman. Deep down, we all want real love. Yes, we want that independence. We want that career because without that career, we're not going to have money to pay bills. That's a reality. And we can't rely on men if we're not in a relationship with men to pay our bills. That's another reality. So it's like, but we also want our equal and we want to fall in love because love is so amazing, you know?
You can't jump from bad relationship to bad
Right.
relationship and get a real bad
I was gonna
relationship.
say I dated every man under the sun, a celebrity, but the men that the ironic part is the celebrities I dated were further good men than the regular men that I dated. Not to make such a comparison, but like I guess because maybe they've gone through more in life. So I have to date someone who just went through more in life. Like didn't always have it so easy, had to like work hard for something or like, because
That's
to
great. That's admirable. Look, I
yeah,
always say some of the and to some of our clients, and these are could be very high caliber or high income earners. Look, it doesn't matter how, you're not worth more to the world because you make more money. So let's get that straight. You can afford
okay,
more things. You're not better. You don't go to heaven because you make
right.
more money and someone else is a school teacher. That is not the way it works.
It's
You're
about
not
how
better
they
in
treat you,
society.
right? It's not about the celebrity or not celebrity aspect. It's about like it just happened to be the celebrity men I dated. They treated me
Yeah.
better than the men, and I shouldn't be going for f boys for
A
players.
human, but a human's worth, and to all your people out there, whoever's listening, your worth is not determined by how much money is in your bank account. Your worth is determined by the kinds of person that you are, the kind of person that you want to become, and your aura. That is who you are, and that is your benefit and your value to the world. It is not your bank account. And for some of our clients, it is a mindset shift. They think that they want, and they'll only be happy with someone who is equally as rich or that to them or more. And the reality is, so many of the best matches are protectors and nurturers. And those people tend to be nurses, firemen, policemen, civil engineers. Those people love people. They're nurturers and they're protectors, and they make amazing matches. They're very simpatico to someone who's very career ambitious in the private sector. And so don't discount someone because they make less money than you are. If they are a good soul, you can teach them how to be goal oriented. You can teach them how to be ambitious and how to hit their dreams. Maybe they didn't grow up from the same background. Maybe they didn't have the resources that you did. I think when two people connect, they help each other, they push each other to become the best versions of themselves throughout the relationship. And that is a real connection. Let's wrap it up because I know you got to go. You have another
Yes.
interview to
I'm
do.
gonna let you so let everybody know for 3 day rule, where can everybody find you guys on social media? Where can everybody follow you? And where can everybody sign up right now, especially for Valentine's Day? Guys, tell them Chanel in the City sent you. We're gonna follow my journey on 3 day rule. I'm very excited to find love and hopefully find it through a matchmaker. That's the where like way to go. So tell us where they can follow you, Adam, right now.
Yes, so you can follow us at 3 Day Rule on Instagram. You can also find me, Adam Aslati, Aslatei on Instagram. 3 Day Rule is our website. Again, you can sign up on the website to our network for free. Costs you nothing, and you might find the love of your life. It's Valentine's Day. I wish you all the best in finding success, yourself and all of your listeners. And also check us out, 3 Day Rule on the Chanel Omari Show. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you share this with all of
What?
your
Tune in
friends
to you on what?
on Chanel in the City, hosted by
Correct.
El Omari. Make sure you're tuning in. And even if you're in a relationship, tell all your friends who are single about 3 Day Rule. Because again, if you're high intent, if your friends are and they're looking for love, we can find them a person. It's not that hard. You just need professional help, and that's us. So wish you a great Valentine's Day,
And to
and
my single ladies, sign up for it with a glass of wine or some vodka. That day, I will be signing up with you, ladies. It's free.
let's do it.
Thank you, Adam, for joining us. And until next time, this is Chanel Amari from Chanel in the City. Tune into us next time.
It's Adam Cohen Aselati, and you're listening to Chanel in the City.